What's up? Welcome to another edition of the Motley Cröc Show. Jimmy, I think I can see you. Can I hear you? I'm pretty blind. Let me get close. Yep, there you are.
Can you hear me? Do you got
Excellent.
me?
I hear you. Excellent, man.
All
Absolutely.
right.
So, yeah, so the show's labeled today. I just let it run for a little bit to see what we would do as far as like letting people come in and kind of talk about it. I invited Joe too if he gets time. I know he's been pretty cold too. He can jump in with us, but so it's ice and snow in Florida. I mean, what the hell is going on with the world?
I don't know. It's nuts though, man. It was freezing up here, and I know you guys are cold too, but man, it was cold.
Yeah, actually, we had moved all the animals in, and I'd pulled out and moved some stuff around, so I'd pulled the water out, for the monitors, and I'd left it out a bit, and then all of a sudden we got out this morning. It was a big plate of glass over the whole top, really crystal, like a sheet of glass, ice on everything. It was pretty cool. Joseph, what's up, buddy? He said I'm on my way, so that's kind of cool. We'll have to catch up with him too shortly. But yeah, it's kind of cold, and I mean it's pretty wacky, dude. Like, I mean, how'd your animals do? I mean, mine were inside, so the only thing I bolted up was some of the tortoises.
Yeah, everybody did good. I mean, everybody that had to stay outside. We moved a lot into the hot room. We put all the big tortoises in the enclosed trailer, and we put the heat pads down. We put in straw. We have a heater actually built into the trailer, so
That's
we
awesome.
had it going all different ways. And then stuff that we can't bring in, we have heat lamps on. Everybody did really well. The hot room stayed about 60, 65 degrees, so I was happy with that. And so everybody's good. So
that's killer, man. I love some of your stuff that you put up there, and I think I just heard a little beep, so I know Joe's coming in. Let him set up there real quick. But I heard you telling Lee, I know you want to come out, Lee, and that video was great. She looked like she was giving like the biggest smile in the world, letting out the animals and stuff, and I don't know. It's been like one of those chilly days, and I know Joe will probably talk about it too tonight too. He had to bring all his shit in as well, and I mean he's got a ton of Verena days, so I know that there's the weather drop for a lot of them, especially subtropical monitors and so on and so forth. It's got to be kind of a lot. So
any of us with reptiles, are you bringing them in?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring him in. Go ahead. I'm gonna pop him in. Boop. What's up, Joe?
What up?
What's up, dude?
We're fucking
You're alive. I know. Do you feel like you're in New York?
Yeah, bro.
I love it. I don't love it, but I love the joke. But I don't love it.
Joe. So we're just talking about this cold weather, man, and all the reptiles and all the other animals, how they get affected, and we all have to bring in everything. And we know you have quite a few animals too. What did you have to bring in?
Dude, I brought in pretty much everything between my house and the other place where I bring stuff inside. Everything's packed up in rooms. I've got all my monitors are inside, tortoises, cyclora, everything had to come in because we hit like 35 degrees last night. Honestly, normally under normal circumstances, like the hardier shit, like the black throats, the white throats, I would kind of, I don't want to say gamble, but they can pretty much take it a little better than some of the crocodile monitors, the water monitors, the Argus. But I wasn't taking no chances last night. So
it got cold, man. It got where we are. It got down to 23 degrees last night, and man, I'm telling you, by 10 o'clock we had ice over everything. Like 10 o'clock, and I think 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and you already started to show the sheet of ice over water. I mean, it got, dangerously cold. And for anybody that has animals,
Jimmy's also going to have, a lot of different weather patterns because where he lives, his dew point's different than ours. Like my dew point is different than yours, Joe, too, because where I'm located here, I'm down in the valley by the water. So when the dew point hits, man, plus I've got my pool and it's like steaming everywhere out there and stuff because the water temperature. So it was settling on everything. But I got the lowest point that my outdoor thermometer got. I had the old school glass thermometer. It looks like the old blood dial, whatever, 27. That was in the middle of my back area right next to my pool. I leaned it up so I knew exactly where we were. That's probably the lowest level I have, and it was at 27 degrees. And I got to tell you, I went out at 8 o'clock. I was like, man, it's fucking cold. 10 o'clock. Wow. Dude, by 2 a.m, I was like, this is getting bad. When I went back out again at 6:30, almost 7 a.m. to check on the birds and everything. And what I mean by birds is the big birds like we can't bring in. We'll have a story about that too. But God, bro, I had to wear like 3 sweatshirts and shit, double up my socks and Crocs, bro. God.
Yeah, man, it was nuts.
I even brought the alligators
was.
in, the young alligators. I didn't even leave them out last night.
I mean, we did too.
If I had the big ones, dude, they're a good dude. They settle down in, but the little guys, you know, the youngsters, you know, you can't risk any of that. You just can't.
Well, yeah, exactly.
All the ponds that I have in like the monitor enclosures were all frozen. They were all
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing, you know, because it's Florida, bro. And then today we had a meeting at work. You know, our owner puts on a gathering, and he rented like these. It's a pretty neat place. It's called, I don't know if you've heard of it, Joe, on this side, because it's further down by us. It's called the Rye Wilderness Preserve. And it's got like, it goes along the Manatee River and all that. And by 1 o'clock, we were in t-shirts hiking around out there. So it's so funny that we were bundled up like we were ready for the New York snowstorm to hit of the year. You know, like I felt like I went down with the Titanic last night and I was holding on to an iceberg. And then today you're like in Cancun. Florida weather's like some of the weirdest shit, honest to God.
Yeah.
I'll never let go, Troy. I'll never let go.
I know. And then you let go like real stiff.
I went out this morning and like my windshield was covered in ice. I had to like warm the car up and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And then you're right. I went back out about like 2 o'clock and I was out in the t-shirt and shorts. Yeah. And I was like, gee, what the fuck? Because even like tomorrow, I think where I'm at, we're supposed to hit like 70 something degrees during the day and then 39 at night. I'm like, how the fuck does that even happen?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know what. Let's talk about that wind.
Oh my God.
Bro, that wind, I mean, it was like, okay, like if you live in South Florida and in the evenings when you're down by the coast, you get like these little 40-mile-an-hour gusts of wind that blow the palm trees in. You can feel the breeze. Like, and that night before last, the wind was so strong, man. Like,
Friday night.
Yeah, it was like this pressure would come through, and it would be like, and then it would stop, and it would seem like somebody would pull backwards, and my windows would go boom, and it was shaking the house. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on with this? I thought a plane crashed and hit my roof, and or a tree hit it, but it was really my windows. Like, bam, you know, and all that pressure flexing the doors and shit. Oh man,
I was out.
It was
out Friday night, and driving back home, it was pushing me all over the road. I'm like, holy shit! It was moving my truck all over the road. I was like,
it brought in a whole bunch of shit. And Kurt was out. Our buddy Kurt was out at Gasparilla Saturday. Fuck that. I don't know how he did that. How you want to go out and stand there by the water and freezing? You know,
not me.
I
love that shit.
I heard it was like, oh, you're going to get invaded by pirates. I'm like, yeah, I think I'll stay home. I'm not going to go out and deal with that right now. So, I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's just been pretty wicked out there lately. And I was kind of bummed because, you know, Brittany's little one, you know, got sick and we couldn't take off. And I mean, I understand, you know, it's the way it goes. But did you ever make it out there, Jimmy, or did you cancel it? Did you go?
So we did. We went. It was really exciting. We're definitely going back with everyone, you know, to go do it. And you know, being that, like we talked prior, you know, being that more people are open, I think we're going to get more. We got some orbs, some interesting couple little things, but the feeling was really cool. And the house is pristine. I mean, you know, they've done a little revamping. Everything, there's still bullet holes in the house. There's still bullet holes.
Bullet holes are in the wall still?
Oh, yeah, they're still in the wall. Yeah. Most of the furniture that is in the house is all original furniture that was in the house during the shootout. And they have photo proof to back up, you know, all of the furniture and everything that's in the house. So, I mean, we had a good time. We only went for a couple hours. You know, we wanted to get back soon because of how cold it got last night. We didn't want to leave the animals. You know, if something happened, if lights went out or power went out, we didn't want to not be here. So, but we had a really good time. But, you know, it's going to be a lot more fun when we get the crew together and go out there and really stir the pot, you know, at that Ma Barker house. So,
dude, I'm stoked. I think that's really badass, man.
Yeah, man.
So we're already working on rescheduling it. So as soon as we figure it out, you know, I got to go back to Tennessee to get my horse trailer. Sarah, my dad, they're going to be out of town this weekend. So it's hectic. So we got to figure out the dates though. So keep it open, Joe.
Yeah, I have to go to New York the middle of next month, but aside from that, I'm good.
Yeah, we'll figure it. We'll get it out for sure so everybody can get to it. And I'm going to bring, I think one time when we're hosting over here, I'll bring Joe over here and I'm going to host from the, hey Heidi, what's going on? Hey Judy, I'm going to come over from, have you come over here and we'll just film live from the studio and I'll set it up on the main screen. What's up, Drew? Look at that. Drew, hey, hope as well. Sending good vibes y'all's way. Thanks, buddy. Hope you're staying warm over there in Orlando, pal. But we'll do that, Joe. We'll get together here and do some stuff. Maybe we'll lay a big monitor out on the table or something, and just have some fun with it. And and I also, man, maybe the three of us one time, Jimmy will roll up and we'll just do a studio version. We're all in it, and I'll promote it and try to maybe bring some guests in, but we could all be kind of together, which is fun remote. But if you get down there, things are a little more organic when everybody's together. It's a little more organic and laughing, and I really think there's a lot to it. So 2 stories when I was talking about the bird. So I put a pig blanket down for those of you watching that don't know what a pig blanket is. I know there's not a lot of people here yet, at least on Facebook, but I got some viewership over here on the right. I can see for YouTube. For those of you who don't know, pig blankets, they're made by Kane and they're a big, like a fiberglass pad, and they have, thermostat in them, etc. I put one on the ground and I put a big heat lamp over inside the box side for my emu. And we walked him over there and sat him down, and this motherfucker didn't want to stay in there. So he goes all the way across the exhibit to the other side, and he lays down on the ground in the very corner. And I see him, and he tucks his head up underneath his body, he bends his head down. And I see him, and he's like this, and I'm like, man, fucking dumbass, whatever. And I go over there and I feel him. I could have cooked eggs on that fucker's skin. He was generating his heat. Yep. So I'm like, okay, just to be safe. So I went and got a big blanket and tucked him in. He slept under that blanket all night, dude. And every time I went out, I'd slide my hand, or he'd look at me like, oh, you're back again. It was so warm under there, I could have slept next to him. He was generating that much heat.
Yeah. Our emus do the same thing, dude. They don't do anything.
They just huddle up. They don't.
Yep.
They just
huddle up. They want to be away from everything. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So cold. It's like, get in there.
I give him the option to do it. Like, you really can't see it. Like, they have a hard time seeing infrared, most animals, due to the cones. Mm-hmm. And I know crocs don't see it, and I know that I know they can feel it, but I'm pretty sure they can't see it. Neither can the tortoises or anything. So they just look where the heat is. So he doesn't know that it's on unless you walk him over there. So now he knows he has the option. And sometimes if I use the white light, he'll go to it. If I use a red light, he just goes away. So I don't have any of the big 250 whites. I only have the red ones now. And then back over to Joe to tell you why I'm here. I was going to film with the cassowaries tomorrow, but until I hear back from FWC, I had to put it off because exhibiting rules with animals like that versus what I can or can't do. So, you have agricultural animals, you have exhibit animals. And so I called him and he said, give me an answer by tomorrow on what was legal, so what's going on. It's probably going to be moved out a week just to keep you in the loop on that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean you can't chill. I'm just letting you know I'm gonna do that. And
hey, you know how you said the red lights? Do you know that? So the civet, Cherie, she is a pain in the butt when it comes to this cold weather. She has the big igloo. We have one of the pig blankets inside of it. Where she could go in. She will not go in late in the igloo. She likes to lay in the darkest, coldest corner of the exhibit. We have a light set up outside too, so she can lay under that if she wants. I literally have to go in and corral her to go to that corner, and once she gets under it and feels it, she'll most of the time lay down. But I didn't get her to lay down and settle down under that light till about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'll tell you one thing, man, it was just constant.
Most mammals are pretty tolerant. I mean, so I went out front last night, because I like to look at the ice on the car because Kurt, he didn't believe me. He's like, really? Good to have God? What's up, Snowman? What's going on, Jeff? Good to see you, buddy. So I said, Kurt, I'll go out and do it. And there's fucking cats out there, man. Cats. Like, they're all puffed up. They're like got their little shoulders up in their tail. And they walk out. They kind of look at like, what are you doing out here, man? We're trying to chill. And I'll tell you what, I saw a couple rats last night. I caught those bastards in the traps, but they try to sneak around. They go on the hunt when it's 30 degrees and try to find food around the exhibits. Those little bastards, dude. That's unbelievable to me. So, I some mammals can't take it. Some can. I even bring my birds in, dude, just because I can now. My owl gets pissed because he likes it out there. Yeah. He loves that cold weather, dude. Like, he's all excited. He gets excited and does his mating dance. And, he loves it. Like, I'm telling you, and I think Kurt's bird's been trying to bang him and stuff because he loves Kurt and this weather. No, I'm serious.
Oh, I know.
He does nuts. This he has this little thing. He's like, and he goes, and he beats the box when Kurt comes in there, and he gets excited, like, I'm gonna fuck you in the head, Kurt, you know. And it's the weather gets them excited, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they get excited, and so I bring them in, and one of the reasons everybody goes, well, why do you always bring a bird in there? Because with birds of prey, you know what I find, and I'm sure there's going to be some critics on here, professionals that have something to say. I do it more for behavior and training. So every night he knows he's supposed to step up. And the nights he's not being fasted, he knows now he comes in, because when you leave them alone for a long time, like when he's not working, they have a tendency to kind of get feral. And like, well, I'm not doing that. This is my big area, and I'm going to go from here to here to here, and I'm not going to come to you. Now he knows, hey, he's always coming to get me. He sees the green box. It's time to eat. I get to go in. So that way I bring him in. And the reason I was doing that was for training, and it really helped, because one night he was in, my neighbor called me and said, hey, man, I got this coyote trying to get into your fence. And there was a coyote on the other side of his, where his is, our adjoining property, and he was trying to get in there. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Now, I mean, if the coyote stuck his head under there, I think my owl would have got a good pinch on his mouth, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't want to rent, not that it couldn't kill my bird. It could, but I mean, he's going to put up a fight. I mean, Hootie's going to fuck that thing up, because, listen, he's been scared before, and he's gripped down on my glove, and I'm like, good night. I'm glad I'm wearing my eagle glove, because he went all the way through and out the other side. I mean,
wow. Yeah.
You know, and
strong,
I keep stone wraps and stuff in there. There's a lot of people like, oh, we got to cut the birds of prey's nails and stuff. I don't cut their nails, man. I don't get into that. I don't, you know, he's got a perch that files it down. I've got the stone paper wrapped around it, and then I've got different textures. I just don't know about cutting birds of prey's nails. That to me seems kind of. Do they do that in the wild? Do you know, Joe? Do they have like a place they go get mani-pedis? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
that's what I heard.
I own one.
The squirrels. Is it the squirrels? Hey, the owl's here. He won't eat us if we cut his nails. We're going to cut his nails. I don't understand how that works, but.
No, it's the same shit with my lizards, man. I don't cut their nails. You know, I let them do their thing in the enclosures, and I mean. What's
up, Corey?
If you're not gonna, you know, if you're worried about getting scratched up and shit, then go get a fucking bearded dragon. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. I was smoking when you said that. I was trying to hold it in. You made me laugh when I pulled in a good one. Get a bearded dragon.
Well, I told you the other day when we were talking on the phone, I have T-shirts and stuff that like are designated just for the monitors, because there's like holes here and like ripped open over here. I mean, it comes with the territory.
They fuck you up.
You know?
They do. So I think lately they've been. I'll tell you what's funny is So I'll ask you first too, because Jimmy and I move all our tortoises in. So you have specific tortoises. Mm-hmm. I know you have specific tortoises. How do they act in the cold weather? Do they seem like they want to shift, or do they seem like they don't want to shift? I mean, how's that working? I mean, you can name what you want. That's up to you. I'm just because I'm going to tell you something about what we have.
So they seem kind of reluctant, to be honest with you, at sometimes. Kind of like
right.
They like, you know, like I have to force it a little more than I actually ever thought I would, because I mean, you would think that they'd be, you know, more than willing to want to escape, but they don't. No. Even the cyclora too. So, I mean, they seem like they'd rather stay out there most of the time than, you know, actually come in.
So we have at the zoo, we have an over 500-pound male Aldab called Roscoe. And now a lot of people come there, oh, it's a Galapagos. It's not a Galapagos, man. I always have to say that. I know that you think it is, but it's not. It's the other big guy. Kind of like in the 80s when they'd be like, oh, pork, the other white meat.
The other white meat.
You remember that commercial? But so anyways, Jimmy, he's not wanting to go in, and he's fighting everybody all the time about going in. It's like, I think he's just old now and he wants to kill himself, because he waits till the coldest nights and he's like, fuck you, I'm gonna sit here, you know, and protest in silence. And of course we force him in there, because we're not gonna let him kill himself, because why would we do that? Exactly. But he doesn't want to go in, and he gives people a hard time. Although, you know, moving big tortoises is a difficult thing, because you have to understand that. Exactly. You learn this from experience too, because everybody gets mad at me, but I use rubber mallets. That's what I use. And I get down and I just boom, boom, boom till it's so uncomfortable they have to walk. And a lot of people are, man, you're hitting and hurting. I'm not hitting or hurting nothing. I mean, I've seen a 500-pound male jump on a 150-pound female and bang it half to death. And then in 10 seconds, she's over having a papaya enjoying herself. So you hitting it with a rubber mallet isn't a big deal, but you have to understand common sense. And so we have a couple people down there that use like wood and stuff. Like when he stands up and you need to steer him, you just use leverage. You take the wood and you kind of move them, you know, but tapping them guys, like really bumping the back of there. Like I have a short hickory stick that we use on that. I have a big cell cutter that I don't know if I could pick him up for any length of time. He's over 200 pounds. When I got him, he was 211, and that was 3 years ago. So he's the one that you've seen him, Jimmy. He like takes up the whole fucking like he looks like someone drug an Aldab out and spray painted it tan. He's big, and so he's just big. And a really good friend of ours brought him to me, and so him sometimes he'll get stubborn, and I'm like, nope, you're going, or they'll get in a fight. Or a big guy, Bud, he likes it because Bud's the only one that has roam of the whole land himself. I don't. He lives in a garbage can next to the house. I'm not kidding you. He lives in an old ass garbage can next to the scream room, next to the lemur. It's his place. Like he's built this walkway. He takes a dump in his can and he backs all the dumpage out. I mean, so I don't mess with him. He's just lived there. So he sometimes will pick a fight with the big one. So I have to go in there and get that little stick and tap him really hard. And then he thinks that the Tortoise is doing it because he's a see me. So he kind of stays away from him. He's like, oh, he's better than me. And, but moving them like that's a big thing. And so, but the Aldab didn't seem to want to go in. My cell cutters don't even come out. Oh, it's not over 50. I'm not coming out of here. I'm staying in today.
Yeah, like I had to pull mine out. I had to physically, normally if it's not too cold after, like if it warms up but it's still chilly, I'll open the doors to see if they want to still go out and get some sun, as long as it's not freezing. And I had one come out, the other 4 stayed in. I got that real big male from you. And then I have the other 4, and Charlie, the biggest out of the 4, he went out. But that was the night that it got down to 23, and we were like, you know what, we're not even going to play around. So I physically had to drag them all out and then put them into the trailer. But most of the time, they do go in on their own. But there is that one that likes to go hide and tuck himself into the outside area. And if you don't go and look, he'll be outside in that 30-degree weather and probably end up dying. He'll get respiratory or something. And, I mean, you know how quick that comes on. To the
longevity, length of time with those guys for sure. And a lot of people don't realize how cold it gets at night, even in Africa. But these things live underground, so they're always like really maintaining their heat. And I've lost cell cutters due to heavy infections before. And a lot of times when I see a discharge, I try to get it tested right away. I do, because it can be really bad things. Like it can be what is it? It's like a version that we get of like the herpes virus for tortoises. And it's really bad. And a lot of people need to look into plasma and stuff, and they carry different strands of it. So, you can move different tortoises in or import. You can wipe out the entire colony of animals. Some really particular. But I will tell you this. I have one. His name is Veggie Tails. I'm going to make sure you get to see him. So he was on display at a zoo down in South Florida, and he was given to me by somebody that worked at one of them down there. But because he was born and his shell looks like a vagina, his name, hence Veggie Tails, and he's giant. Like, they were like, we can't keep him on. So I can't wait till you see him, Joe. I just can't wait to see him. But he broke out. It was really cold last year. And overnight, like right before the morning time, I spread out a bunch of hay and I would let him out. I guess he heard me do that. So I got up, and it was really early to do my walks. And this motherfucker has frost all over his back. Like it looked like somebody did the fake Christmas spray shit for your window. Eating fucking hay. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, God, this guy's durable. And I got all mad at him, and I picked him up and put him back in there because it wasn't really warm enough for him to be out yet. But he was out there eating, and he had been sitting there so long chewing, he got frost on his back. And I to me, I find that awesome, because it just shows you how durable some of them can be. For sure. And then it goes to 70 one night, and one dies of nasal infection. It's just, I mean, and dry. I mean, really, the key with those things is dry.
Yeah.
I mean, now that we're the age we are, but when they were importing even the sulcutas, man, they were just too wet for those animals. That's why leopard tortoises have an extremely hard time. How I have them, how I managed to do it, I don't know, because I don't know. I just elevated the ground, their boxes off the ground, and I got them in a higher area, and that's all I can do. But the torrential downpour and the rain, I mean, there's nothing I can do. I mean, but leopards are fun. I've got some cool leopard tortoises, and I hope I get some really good nests.
Yeah, they're really awesome. Yeah.
But it's hard. I get scared. Oh man, it's gonna rain for 3 weeks. I'm like, it's gonna rain. They're gonna drown, and then you got to keep them dry. So, but that's about all you know. But it's scary.
Well, like you said last time, your mountain tortoises on the last Sunday, you were saying they would be out there dancing in the cold in the water. They'd be just chilling.
I'm like, bro, Cody, what's it? Oh, it's 43. I'm like, they're in the fucking pool. They're in the pool. They have a big concrete pool. And they're all sitting in there, dude, like like you just were on the movie Never Ending Story. And you're through the swamps and all these tortoise shells sticking out of the water. It's like his head would just pop out of the water. It's like, and then he goes back down. I'm like, put him in the box. So I just bring them in. I don't heat them because I don't want to, there's ways to kill shit like that. So a slow, and that's another thing, guys, for those of you that don't know and haven't had the experience, anytime you bring something back, adding extra heat is a terrible thing to do. So if you're down in the 40s, you need to bring it to 50. You need to bring it to 60. You need to bring it to 70 because a lot of these, like, let's just throw them in the microwave. Man, it just doesn't work like that.
That's a lot more damage. Definitely kills.
Slow process, slow warm up.
And that's drastic. And I've seen a few mistakes made by especially new keepers, thinking, oh, the water's kind of cold, and they'll add all this hot water, and the alligators' vessels in their eyes start to swell, and they're like shaking their head around, they don't know what's going on because I'm like, oh, you just gave me heat stroke. I hope he comes back from that kind of thing. But even with them, I mean, I had a terrible mistake one time made. I had put my animals out years back. It was 3 speck caimans, and they were in a giant trough, and in that giant trough was a brick, and I still kept the video to this day because Flavio really saved my ass in that one. But they broke the glass heater that was wrapped in the PVC. Somehow they had done something in there and it just broke and turned off. So the water, when I shot the gun down in the water, it was 38 degrees. So they were pretty much the shape they were sitting. I call Flavio and I go, I'm fucked, Flavio. All 3 of those animals are gone. He's like, well, just wait a minute. I'm like, I'm touching them and touching them. He goes, poke it in the eye hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Their eyes were like half shut. And now when I mean stiff, bro, it felt like rigor mortis. Mm-hmm. And so I poked it, and ever so slightly, the eye dilated. It didn't even close. And he goes, they're still alive. So we spread this dark-ass blanket out on my pool deck and laid them out. And I ran the video of them, which I think I can dig it up and text it to you if either of you have seen it. But I ran the video of them thawing out in high speed. And they're like robots. And they're starting to come back and stuff. And then one like walks off. But it's super slow, but it took them 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 hours. And I took some footage of that but just the way it moves was really awesome. But
dude, those, like you said, the eyes are the last thing that will show you if that crocodilian's still alive. So a few years back, Troy, you probably remember this. We have the real big Trigonotus, and then we also have the small, I think he's like a 2.5, 3 foot palp. And they were all in their enclosures, and we had water running, but I didn't trap them in their pools. But I still did my security checks at night. And when I shined in, the water was murky. I couldn't see in. So I didn't see nothing on land. So I assumed, they were, in the water. So it was like 7 o'clock, 7:30. Normally they're already out sunning by that time, with the sun out. So when I shined in, or not shined in at 7:30, I just looked in and there was nothing. Nothing was sunning. And I'm like, what the hell, I opened the door. They were right by the damn door down in the grass, and they were there probably all night. Did not know it. I didn't see them, and they were as stiff as a board. I literally could pick him up, and he would stand upright like a bowling pin. It was nuts. And the only way I could tell he was alive, I touched the eye, and all you saw was the eye just flick just a little bit. And I put a blanket over him. We brought him in the house and just slowly raised his body temperature. And it took hours and hours. But I thought I lost him. I thought I lost both of these big caiman. And fortunately, they came back. So it's scary, man. I mean, the cold is dangerous.
In a wicked way, man. And I totally agree. And, Nate and I were at a place a while back, and there were Cuban crocs there. And they lived out in a big environment. So every 2 hours, we'd have to go out and chase the Cubans back in the water. So a lot of people say, lock them underwater. I started doing something years ago where I would take wire and build a frame and force them in their pool and close it over them. So they could always stick their head through the hole and breathe and come back down. They could not exit because going out and constantly chasing it's a risky thing. When you have, 11, 12 foot crocodiles or, 9, 10, 8 foot, 8, 9, 10 foot cubans, big bulky cubans, it's really hard to keep them in such a small environment that you're going to be able to close them in like that. But you just have to build a big one. But these guys were in these giant breeder areas and you'd have to go out with a stick and yell at them. Because every 2 hours, they're not going to die in 2 hours, but starts to come back down, and we'd have to chase them in. Those fuckers would get out because what would happen is Cubans will come out. Those Cuban crocs, I've heard it on more than one occasion. I'm sure there'll always be somebody that wants to argue with me, but they're more predominant to come out in the cold and just sit and die. They just walk right out and sit in it, and it's not, Terry Cullen's place. His guy goes out there all the time and chases those crocodiles in. He has to make loops every hour and a half. He walks that 5. Because they're in a 5-acre perimeter area, and there's tons of them there. And he has to go enclosure by enclosure. Get on that water. Get on that water. And by the time he gets up the other loop, he's doing it again. And so they go in rotations because they don't do that. So what Jimmy did, especially with Siamese, is it cannot get out. It has to stay in the water until he lets it out of the water. Yeah. And that's not cruel, folks, or forcing anything. That's just like barning up your horses. And so if it's a big croc, we use the hog panel if you're listening and you want to do it. And then that way they can stick their whole nose up if they have to and breathe, but then they submerge. They can't get out. Because some of those bigger crocs, they may be tough. They get out, they're gone in a couple hours.
Exactly.
Crocs are, really sensitive.
Well, that same dwarf came in that that I almost lost in Tallahassee. He has his own pond, and I built an 8x8 panel, and I have wire on it, and I lay it over the entire pool. And he can pop up, the water can overflow out. He has a foot of area to sit up under it, and I am not shitting you. Last night at probably 3:30 in the morning, it was probably 27 degrees, something like that. And I'm out there shining the flashlight. All of a sudden, I hear like banging coming from the Crocodilian area. And I'm like, what in the fuck would be banging around in this weather? I went over there and looked. Weather. That damn dwarf came and was trying to get out to get on land. So if he wasn't covered and he got out, but he was trying to get out. And I'm like, bro, you are alive because you're in the pool. I mean, the well water. But he was trying to get out at 28-degree weather. It was absolutely insane that they were doing that.
That's interesting because you just brought up something that all of us know because we all keep alligators. A lot of people don't, and they're new to it. You get certain infections in them and skin infections. I tell people, leave the fucker out for 48 hours or longer. Let's try 3 days, 3 solid days of no water. Leave them out like that and let that fungus kill dry, right? Someone said to me the other day, I'm almost embarrassed repeating this. I hope they're not. But they said, well, we can't do that. Alligators are amphibious, which took me back to a song. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm like, no, alligators are not amphibious. That's not even that you can't. That's not applicable to that animal. But so, and it's not their fault. I wasn't being a bully. I'm like, listen, that's amphibious. I know it's comic book stuff, but so Flav and I were talking, we're laughing about it. He goes, no, it's semi-aquatic, which means it's more terrestrial. Because you have to understand the verbiage. I'm talking to whoever's listening to us. The verbiage is semi-aquatic or semi-terrestrial. Okay, so box turtles are semi-aquatic, so they're predominantly on land. Crocodiles are considered, in most cases, especially what I've been reading, is semi-aquatic, so they can thrive very well on land, and there are some that adapt really well. Like you can always tell, even when these Cuban hybrids, just look at the legs, these stocky fucking monitor lizard legs. And when they run totally different. A lot of those big crocs hop. These son of bitches are like boom, 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 or it's like a horse. So they're very terrestrial. And Flavio said being out of the country where the trigonotus and the dwarf crocs and all those different areas and palpebrosus were, you go out at night and more of them are on land. They're all sitting out on land. And he said there's no water around. They're just hunting. So those things are up grabbing crap. Think about what those trigs do, man. I mean, yeah. They eat crustaceans and shit. They're climbing up hunting crabs and whatever they can catch. And the broads now came in crushing conch and shit like that. That impresses me.
Like I've even heard stories of like the Osteolaemus being found in the wild, nowhere near water. Being pretty much on land mile, 2 miles away from where there's actual water.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean,
nuts.
They can do it. I mean, they preserve water well, but that would mean if they're a semi-aquatic animal, and they're more terrestrial. They're a little more terrestrial. The dwarf caimans. Crocs are. I think the dwarf crocs are similar, but I can speak from experience with the dwarf caimans. They're a little more terrestrial, anyways. You give them an option, they're always out. Yeah. Like we have a big tank set up for some young ones, and when I mean a big tank, it's 200 gallons probably, and there's this big land mill in there. They could be in there floating around, and they'd rather lay on that rock up there and argue who gets to be in the higher spot. They are always fighting them too.
Now, go ahead.
No, go
ahead.
I was done.
Okay, it's froze. So like my big trig, he will stay in the water all day, but he'll stay in the water all day, but he only come out at night. So I mean, it's like he doesn't give a shit about coming out during the day. He'll sit up in the water during the day. He'll keep his head real high during the day, and then at night he wants to cruise around. Sarah's like, oh, they're banging around, and go out there, and it's the trig that's doing it. But,
well, because naturally that's when they hunt. I mean, everybody forgets that they're all these fucking things are nocturnal, and especially them. So they're hunting big time in the dark. And what I thought was interesting is, bro, if you really look at them, especially when they're young, you're all gonna know this who have them. Man, their eyeballs are like a frog. It just sits. Maybe they're amphibious. No, I'm just kidding. But the eyeballs are like tight right on the top, like really close together, and they're giant. Looks like two golf balls, shoved into a broomstick. Like what is that over there? I think that's true. I think they're totally what he said, coming out all night trying to screw around, because them Cuban crocs will come out at night. I'll fucking walk up on you, turn the flashlight off. They'll keep getting closer and closer. Ask my nephew about that sometime, Jimmy, when we were in with him and it was trying to stalk us. It was, and those are the big ones.
Man, that'll make your hair stand up. Oh my God.
Man, we turn the light on and get a little closer and turn it off, and then it'd be closer. I'm like, okay, we need to turn the light on and go out the gate because it was coming.
That's one of the closest things to a velociraptor you're gonna get besides some of your monitors.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it was so funny because they're creepy like that, but they're always. When I bring them in for tonight, I'm like, God, I'm trying to sleep, and it sounds like somebody's beating a bowling ball around in a tub. It's them. They're all mad, arguing. They can see the other one looking through the clear, and this guy's mad at this guy, and it's like this bang to the beat of the drum all night stuff. So it's like they're so active. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But you have Lee, and Lee would spend all day on land and then go to bed at night in the water, always.
Yep, that's her.
And then
she meets me at the gate every morning. She's ready to come out. I'm opening it. She's charging out. She comes out. She lays. She will not touch the water until I have to put her in at night, or it's right after dark and she's walking in. But I mean, it's nuts. She doesn't.
I love her so much. I always have loved that croc. We've had to catch her 3 times. I love her. She's rad. She's sneaky though. She will hunt when you're not around and you don't think. She will hunt for a place to get away. She understands how to escape, and she's done it so many times now. She has built she comprehends escaping. It's it's not like, oh, this reptile found a corner, got out. This one now understands, and she will work every area, every square until she figures it out. And she does that. So Jimmy, thank God, built Fort Knox over there for Crocs, or Fort Crocs, if you want to call it like that. But she will do that. I've always found that intrigued by her, because she'll look at you and wait for you to leave, and then she starts working. And she would do that, and she got out a couple times.
Well, you remember the pictures I sent you of the thing that I put the blocking to keep her in the water. I sent you the pictures up from the camera. Her head was sticking over it, and she was looking down at the camera. She was like taunting me. She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna climb out, bitch."
She's like that, man. She really is, and it's because which really intrigues me. That's what's most impressive about the crocodiles to me, and I've obviously worked with a lot of crocodiles, so I get to see a lot of. I'm lucky enough I got to do that in my life, but I see the differences in each species' behavior, etc. But she has always been like that, and I have another one like that, and she acts the same way. They'll talk to you, and their siamensis have a really I like them. You can connect with them pretty easy. It's pretty. I don't know the word. There's just. If you can either see it or you can't see it when you're working with them in a different manner.
It's their personality. Their personality is very unique, with a lot of different crocodilians, and it's amazing, like how they attach to you, or how they actually work around you. It's pretty crazy. It's like you both work with each other, and like so when I put her in the water, I'm like, Lee, water, and as I'm walking over, she always gives me that one hiss before I say it, because she's telling me to F off, that I'm going to tell her to go in the fucking water. And she's like, she does. And she does not like it, man. She hates me having to put her in the water. But
she's telling you, hey, I already know.
Yeah, because I'm like, leave water. She'll perk up. She'll start walking, and then she taunts me. She lays back down. She gives me that hiss. I have to just like tickle her on the tail, and she won't charge me, but and I stand my ground with her because I don't want her to run me out. So she runs right between me and the water, and as of this point now, she's kept going to the water. I'm waiting for that day I'm gonna like dance over her head or something. So.
Which is always scary, bro. I hate it when they get in between my legs, them Crocs. I'm not so concerned about alligators as much, but man, when them Crocs do it, man, they go from straight to sideways so fast. I mean, gators do it too, folks. But the crocodiles, and they're pointy, and you know what they're gonna get. And you got your hands up. It's like you're trying to keep your ball bag off a hot stove.
And all you see is this. That's all you see.
Yes, like a machine gun. And I've been caught in that, man. I've been caught in that, been grabbed one time. So it's, you're like, damn, here we go again. But that's funny that you say that, because I was thinking the whole time you were saying that we're all three doing the same thing. All of us had the same pretty much interests. Yeah. All three of us on this panel. And if you think about the different Crocs, like if Joe was a Croc, you're like, what'd you do? I fucking killed him. I killed him and I went and had a fish ice cream sandwich, And you got Jimmy like, no way, man, what happened? And I'm probably like, what? So every crocodilian, even in their own species of them, they all come up with this cool, you just know who they are. They have a tendency to speak to you like any reptile guys. I mean, I know bearded dragons and ball pythons do the same thing, but I don't focus on them as much. It's because I just don't. But you see it. You're like, oh, I know that alligator. I already know when I go over to Jimmy's badgers, the way he looks at Jimmy, I already know he wants to fuck around. Like, and I think now it's not even being mean. I really think he's like, oh, Jimmy's out here, man. Let's play. I get to run and jump, because I can imagine it probably gets boring.
Yeah.
So if you go in there, Jimmy's probably like, oh yeah, let's just mess with him. Badger's your homie.
Badger, God, Badger.
He's your homie.
Man, Badger, he's been around a long time. And Badger goes back to my native village days. Like,
that's awesome.
He was around, and he's a little over 9 feet, and he is a healthy male alligator. And Troy's been with me when we've had him. He is literally a handful, and he is nasty, but he knows the game. He knows,
he's the alligator version of Jimmy Riffle. Because he knows, like he does. When you said it before I said it. He knows the game.
Yeah.
He does. And he sees Jimmy coming. It's like, oh, here we go. We're going to start playing this game like right on. And we're blessed. For anybody listening out there, I'm happy we get to do it. I get burnt out sometimes. You've all talked about that, but I'm not like this. Oh yeah, look at me. I don't want to ever come across that way. I'm just fortunate that I focused, and it was a lot of hand to mouth and having dirt sandwiches to get where you are, but to be lucky enough to do that. Or to work with for a day, or Jimmy getting to do all that showman stuff with those big gators. That just takes a lot of talent, man. And it takes a lot of hard work. And so, at the end of the day, I think we're lucky. So I'm glad we can even talk about this. So, I mean,
you imagine how boring our lives would be, man. I'm just kidding. We'd figure it out in other ways.
We'd figure it out, but I mean, we all do the same thing, and we're all interested in something else. And it's like, especially for me, any supernatural stuff or demonology or any of that type of stuff, I've always been interested in, because people like to dismiss it. They'll say something like, I don't believe that. Okay, well, you don't have to believe it. It doesn't matter. We're still going to do it. And most of the time I get the Christians will give me the pushback. Well, they're not here anymore. Those are demons. They're in heaven. Okay.
I actually had
so
to
every asshole's in heaven.
I had to deal with that. The other day, I was telling someone about what we were planning on going to do, this past weekend. And like, they're one of those, I don't want to like shit talk anybody's religion, but like those born again.
Over the top.
Yeah.
Over the top.
And I was getting like chastised. Why would you go and do that? Why would you want to open those doors? Why would you want to, what if it's the devil? Good. I want to say what's up. How are you? How you doing? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I'm not worried about that kind of shit. It is what it is. I'm like, so they're like, how do you know, like, it's not disguising itself as one thing, but it's really a demon? I go, how the fuck do you know? How do you know, You got Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God, and all this stuff, right? How do you know like an apparition that appears like that's Jesus is really Jesus, and not the devil or whatever you want to call it? You don't know, right? You don't.
And some people call him the Holy Ghost, but they don't believe in ghosts. Yeah. Only one ghost. So I like how you said that. I'll say I want to say what's up, but it's funny to me that what you choose to. I'm different now. I used to be really aggressive with it, even early on. I'm sure Jimmy and Sarah's heard me vent, but when I was growing up, Christians to me they were punch on sight. So if you saw a little Bobby Bible walking down the motherfucking street, I'd get my brothers on like, we're gonna fuck this dude up, and then we're gonna ask him where God is when we're done. Now that's wrong. I'm the first in minutes for those of you who want to. Oh, you hear what he said about Bible Billy or whatever. So now I'm like, I understand, man, because some people have their faith is. That's good. I think that you should. I'm not quite as aggressive as I used to be because now looking like me or Jeff, because he's a lot uglier than I am, looking like us back then we were shit scumbag motherfuckers, and now everybody wants to do that. Police started wearing the vest that said with biker logos on them, and then everybody's all the frat students are getting or frat boys are getting all the tattoos now, and everybody's like. And I can't tell you how many times because I don't care I really don't care unless I'm in an area that it matters. I know any one of us here who are over tatted, especially Ricky, he really overdid it. He looks like a fucking scarecrow that someone scratched on. So he is tatted. So you don't want to talk about it. It's not what you want to talk about. And everybody wants to come up. And there's been many times you go in and next thing you know, they've got a tattoo on their arm. They have to roll their whole sleeve up to their neck and walk by. And then they have to stop and they do some shit like this. Yo, man, I like your ink. Listen, I'm from a different time. That's not what we do. Would never walk up. I remember the first time I met Jeff. We don't walk up to each other and go, hey, I like your tattoo. He has a right to shoot me right in the face. You don't do that. And so it's our responsibility to bring young thugs up not to do that. Like, don't say that. You don't acknowledge that. That's part of you, You don't walk up and go, hey, man, I love your moles. Or, hey, sweetie. Hey, those skin tags on your neck, really, I kind of want to nibble them off. It's the same shit. You're right. It's the same shit. You don't do that. And it's part of us, what we are, what we look like. We have a tendency, if you look at everybody you look at in your circle, even your friends, who they are, it comes out and it kind of bleeds out into who we are. You really do. You will come out. Jimmy is Jimmy. And Joe's always been Joe to me. And I expect Joe to be like that. I can't fucking run him over. You just know that that's him. I already see that. And hey, you got these group of people, but you start to be who you are. So a lot of people would start putting people down like, oh, this long hair. That's you, Jimmy. You got that long ass hair, but that's you. That's your thing. And you've just become, that's the image you see of yourself. So it's just hard. So nobody goes, hey, I like your ink. And I was kind of a dick when I was younger. Now I'm getting all like, thanks, man. I don't really want to talk about it. You know what I mean? So, because they kind of get the idea like, hey, maybe that's not the right thing to do. So it's our job to correct that.
What's funny is I get people like when I'm in like the line at like the supermarket, because I'm pretty heavily tatted, but I've got Roman numerals tattooed across the back of my neck. Right. And like, that's awesome. Random people.
That's a conversation starter for people.
Yeah, I'll be online and I'll get like some lady who will be like, "What do those numbers in the back of your neck mean?" And I'll be like, "Oh, that's how many kids I've killed," or like,
it's so stupid.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, "What the fuck? Who are you?" Like, why would you randomly ask somebody that? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we're just standing there. Like, now we're having a conversation. You're like, "Oh, by the way," it's just like, "Hey, what do those numbers on the back of your neck mean?" Oh, that's how many years in prison I did, or how many people I've run over with my car, or shit like that. Meanwhile, it actually is my birthday and my two sisters. But
I like how you say ran over with your car. But what I find interesting is that by not even us not doing stuff, doing it on purpose, we have control of them. So I won't lie to you guys when I get excited to get up a Sunday after 10 and go to Publix. You know why? You already know. Oh, and I walk through there and I'm like, every little kid, they're like, I want to look like that dude. Get away from him, son. He's a devil man. And I got a shirt that says quit hating on Satan. I wear it in a lot of places. It's, because look, I'm not going to say Satan isn't real or he's not or what. I'm not going to say that. But everybody has to pick a certain thing to pick on, and if I've never been bothered by any other type of religion but that, especially, so for me, I think that they got to get it together a little bit more, and I think we need to change that. But you talk about something like, I think that there's something attached. Quick story. Somebody gave me a chandelier that I have in my house now it was so long ago, they had to it's brass. They had to re-drill it, and they turned it into a plug-in lamp, but it used to hang and hold a candle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, it belonged to somebody, and I don't remember the name, so I'd be a liar, but it's somebody that I worked with. Said, yes, we bought the house next door, it's there, and they know I like Gothic. Do you want that, sweetie? You can take it. I'm like, my God, thank you. Yes, I'm going to worship it. It's so cool. I've already got it set up, and I just sit there and get high, and I look at it like, just keep waiting for that fucking caboose to come by like at Disney World. Welcome to the haunted mansion, And so I'm excited, and then she's like, Troy, you were right, because I was taking it out of there, and I looked back, and I saw a lady, and I said, Cody, this lamp's attached to that lady. And they look at me, both of them are like, well, yeah. They come back later and they go, well, it belonged to this girl, this woman here. Now this has truthfully happened to them, and they're not really into that. And for those of you that know who I'm talking about, go up and ask her when you see her at work. But right next to them, they have a reading light between them. It gets something, pulls a chain and turns it on and off on them. And then randomly turns on, I guess, her hair dryer when she's in the bathroom, just turns it on.
Oh my God.
I'm like, well, do you want me to bring? I'll bring one of the crystals back to hang off of it, and just you need to put it back over there. Sure, they're attached to a part of it, or we can lay the crystal on it, give it an hour over a mirror, and then destroy the mirror. I mean, what do you want to do? And they're like, what? And I go, well, that's all the way I heard. I mean, I've never made them leave, but I heard that that's how you do it. I don't. That's what they say. I've never done that because I don't know, but that's what But yeah. I think I said if it was being malice to you, I think it would be different. And I'm telling you, Jimmy, you've been around now. You've seen stuff manifest from physical or from super to physical, like with things being thrown or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So you understand now that if you don't understand it, and we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a great show. My speaker goes by my face. If you're not used to that happening, then it freaks you out. And I think it starts
for sure.
Trying to get in. I don't think it's easy to get over. It's hard to get to that side for us.
Yeah.
So it's got to be hard to come back and try to communicate. So unless someone's really got their third eye, and I mean everybody can, the third eye, I don't think you can. When you walk somewhere and you go, hey, I'm not buying that fucking car. I already know that car is fucked. And you didn't even look at it yet. That's your third eye. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. When that's in tune, and you have it too, Jimmy, also not even the super, but I know you have it you understand the alligator stuff. You're open to it. You've opened that. And it's an intelligence that everybody has, but we're so led by a deity or a way of something that's not logical. That is not logical.
Yeah.
You still have people that are here to this day when we give the speech on albinism that think black people cannot be born as an albino. There are still people that believe that. No, they're born albino too. They look just like they do. They just can't go in the sunlight like those alligators. Yeah. Exactly. So I said it's not you don't understand. That's a real thing. They're like, wow, man, there's no way. I'm like, well, yes, way. And there's people who believe that. So I'm still shocked when I go out and talk to people that they're still able to communicate with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what we were gonna run into, like, when we were at that house last night. And I really was wishing you guys were there because you guys are more open to things, and
you get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I feel it, but the one thing I can say, I didn't we never got a negative feeling, not like, because it's not going to be demonic. It's nothing like that. These are mobsters, they're gangsters, so it's not like they may tell you to leave, or say you're not welcome here or something like that. But we never felt uneasy.
I'll tell you what I like to do to spice things up for them, because and it works. And I'll take anybody out and show them, but bring someone there dressed as a police officer.
You want me to bring my Tommy gun?
Yeah, bring it just like that era.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you bring it just like that era, they hate that. Okay. I'm sure that they see many people come through, and you have to imagine yourself as that, watching people come through and try to look for you or whatever, kind of like being an animal in a big exhibit. But if they see something they don't like that reminds them of a trauma, I think you always stir it up and don't think that it doesn't, because it does it to your human now.
Well,
when I see the cops, I get worked up now.
Yeah,
I do. I should. I don't even have to, but I do. Go ahead.
I was doing some research on it throughout the week.
Okay.
That we were going to go out there, and there was other people who have done investigations there, who have said that they heard talking, conversations, and stuff like that, and that there was a lot of activity, and that's after the house was moved. So I mean,
yes.
See,
the thing we're worried about is that, I mean, we definitely had stuff happen, but it's not at the same location that the shooting happened, like you just mentioned. So, I think Brittany even mentioned this to Sarah, just wondering about with the house being moved, if you're going to get more activity from where, the grounds where the shooting actually happened or here. Because there was a guy that was in there years, I don't know if it was years, but back in the day, after the house was moved, and he was a cop, he was a police officer, and I believe, don't quote me, but as he was walking out, it said "Don't come back" or "You're not welcome" or something like that. And they got that. You're not welcome, and that was to the police officer. But there's other. Supposedly, she likes cherry pie. Ma Barker. She was really into that. So we brought some offering stuff to see if we could entice that. And we were kind of feeling it out, so we didn't really get to do everything we wanted, and we didn't want to do everything. We kind of just went there because the people that were setting it up, his wife and son, the one that helps me out here on the property, they were really looking forward to going to do this. So they didn't want to cancel it on them, so we ended up going with them still and doing it. And I mean, it was really neat. The fact that I was standing in the room where him and her were laying on the floor, after the FBI shootout is pretty surreal. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And, the bullet holes and the old chair, the fact that the furniture is all still the same furniture is crazy. It's still there, and it's old.
I think it's awesome. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, sometimes the energy stick with the areas they're in, and it could have been totally different, and they moved it. There's so many different places like that, but sometimes it's stronger in some places that we went. Remember, Jimmy, when we first went into that old jail, that they didn't know that was a jail too. By the way, Joe, they didn't know that until they started peeling the walls back to refurb the place. That it is one of the original jails in St. Augustine. Oh, wow. Nobody knows where it's at. It's actually inside of a strip area where a bunch of homes were, and had been turned into a shop. So they covered everything up. So they didn't
you would never
know. The bars out of the wall, and there were carvings in the wall and shit. Dude, it was unbelievable under the floor. So, anyways, when we first got there was a lot of bullshit going on. So they were doing these hokey pokey tours. Well, so and so died here with blah blah blah, and whatever. And there was a shootout, and I think they're like, fuck. And so I kept saying, and I was with another psychic, and I said, I don't feel anything here. I mean, and he's like, yeah, they're gone. They're not here. And then they go, well, let's try this far back room we have a tendency to go to get away from people. All the lights were on. The guy that let us in there was like, whatever. I'm not going to shit mouth him, but he was very unprofessional. And if you're going to do something like that, you're insulting something with the same integrity you have. Think about that.
Yeah.
And so when we went in there, then it started happening. We went into this corridor area where they held people, and things were coming in and out of that wall. And, I'm not sure about Jimmy because I think he was down on the floor and he was looking to us. And he was leaning down, and when it came into your face, I said, you didn't see it, but you felt it. Yeah. But we even had someone here that's a very credible person. A very credible person that said, I've never seen anything in my life. And you can hear her. She goes, oh my God, it's right there. I see his face. And then he looked and he went back behind Jimmy. Unbelievable. And once you're in tune to that and you see it, and all 4 or 5 people in there saw the same thing, you get to understand it's there. And then it started moving. There was a little kid pulling on Jimmy's shirt. Cool.
I saw that.
And I said, there's a kid in here. Right when I said that, Jimmy's shirt got wiggled. Yeah. Because I saw a kid, but not like, and they're like, stop, but he wouldn't talk. I remember Jimmy's, what's he saying? And I'm like, he's not talking. And then, the Michael's like, yep, he's not talking. He's mad at this, and but he likes Jimmy and blah, 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 blah. And he was drawn to Jimmy. So Michael pulled Jimmy in because Jimmy has a softer spirit. He said, bring a more softer spirit in. And he brought Jimmy. He's more, he was more open to being, feelings than the rest of us. Cause I'm looking, I'm in a different area. I'm all whacked out. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how much you start swaying. And I'm serious. When you flip over to that side, the room changes. And I remember being in the room where all the Indians, and I said to Jimmy, dude, everything's bent. And then Michael goes, yeah, kind of like Beetlejuice. I'm like, yeah, I did. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I go to turn to look at Jimmy, and this thing's circling around. Marcia made her sick. I kept saying, whatever it is, it's going in and out of view. And she's like, I'm going to throw up. I mean, it was unbelievable to me.
Yeah, we had to get out of there. Yeah. Or you guys did. I didn't feel sick, and then we saw the cat. Afterwards, we came back. Yep. Remember?
Jimmy and I went back, and the cat that roams the streets, that's been there forever, just popped out in front of me and Jimmy and ran right in front of that building.
Right in front of the jail. Yep. It was nuts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just, it could be an old myth or whatever, but it, and you can hear it. It'll be like, it makes noises and it's not supposed to be there. It's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it's what you let yourself believe. I mean, when I was real little, I always waited to see if I could catch Santa sneaking in. So when did we hide our curiosity or suppress it for something more known? That's what I have to say. So if you can keep that thought going, you're pretty good.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, we're at the top of the hour and we get into that really crazy shit when we get to the top of the hour. So it's going to post it up. And so we'll pop out of here, everybody. And I want to thank you, Dan, for coming in, Joe, and jumping in with us. I always have a good time with that. And everybody who came on and is going to come on, I'm going to upload this now, so it's going to run up to YouTube. But everybody that was here, thank you. And we appreciate you guys coming in and talking shit. Next time, fill some comments out, talk some shit, and we'll talk about them. I think it'd be a lot of fun. For sure. So until next week, guys, we appreciate it. You guys sit tight for a second, and I'm going to go.